On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, back-to-backs are never fun, and it really showed when the Avalanche went up against the Chicago Blackhawks, losing 5-2. But the big question, of course, was Alexander Georgiev. Are we happy with the performance? Let's talk about that and so much more. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X. There we go. Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and make sure you subscribe to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below, because when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. Like we will do a little bit later. We'll get their thoughts on this game. They might even have some. They've been coming through with the sound checks.
Yes,
lately.
they have. Yeah, that's been a highlight so far.
We'll see what they got in store a little bit later. We'll jump into this thing, man, because the Avalanche riding a 5-game winning streak that comes to an end against Chicago, a team you would normally think like, yeah, the Avalanche should really beat that team. And I don't want to use the back-to-back so much as an excuse, but you can see why nobody likes them. You know, you play this game again with proper rest for both teams, and you're pretty confident the Avalanche can get by Chicago. But that's also, like I say all the time, like the beauty of hockey is because you just never know on any given day. And when a team like Chicago beats a team like the Avalanche, is it like the biggest news in the world? Well, no, because it's a long season and you're gonna have losses to, you know, teams that you are better than. That's just the nature of the sport, the nature of the league, the nature of a season. But how much do you feel like this back-to-back did play a role? Because they're never fun.
Yeah, and thankfully the Columbus Edmonton game stole some of the sting from this Avalanche game because Columbus blew out Edmonton. But
well, and Edmonton did lose Connor McDavid on his first shift.
Yeah,
and apparently they're sending him back home, and they're on a road trip right now. So that's not good. But
so
anyway,
that's semi-convenient. But this, like the back-to-back, this is something the Avs are going to have to get used to because this is going to happen many more times throughout the year. But you definitely saw. Honestly, it was kind of concerning. It was like the glimmers of the beginning of the season, like a lot of. It was just slow getting out of the gate. And like the one time that you saw the Avalanche that we saw on this winning streak was when Nathan MacKinnon got mad and just took that upon himself to get that goal. Other than that, everybody was puck chasing, just kind of like lackadaisical, just going through the motions. And that, hey, you're talking about Chicago. They just lost 4 in a row until this game.
Yeah.
So they had to break their streak sometime too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And whenever you go up a team against like that, I hope the consensus from like the fan base is like, well, they're just going to lie down. Well, no, they're professional athletes. And like you said, they're on a 4-game losing streak. They want to stop that. So they always have something to play for. And they were just the better team for the majority of this game. Not all of it, but the majority of it. And when you're better for the majority of a game that you are leading in, that usually bodes well for you in getting points. And the Avalanche, you know, the slow starts is I don't know. I don't want to say if it's like concerning to me, but they are. Like every game it's taking them some time to get into you know, a match. And with this one, it was almost like the entire first period. A lot of standing around, a lot of like just looked like they were exhausted, and it's the first period. And then, you know, they do get into the game, and you did see some good things. And I don't want to say the entire thing was, you know, a negative, but there were moments where they took control of the game, and you felt like that a goal was coming. You know, you had those those feelings when you're cycling, you're keeping the puck in the offensive zone. You had a few of those, not a ton of them, like you did the game before. But when you didn't capitalize on those, you're like, you just had the feeling like today's not the day. The score looks like you got blown out. You clearly didn't. They got two empty netters at the end, so that inflates that score. You're in the game. You fought, but you do have to give credit where it's due for the other team as well, because they played you well. And is that part of the back-to-back? Sure, some of it. Not enough to say that's what lost in the game. And for the Avs, I think you just regroup from this, and you just get back to what you've been doing, because it's been good for these last 5 games. You had an opportunity to win this one, and this is just one of those losses, man. They can't chalk it up to anything other than that, if you ask me.
Yeah, and we'll get to other scenarios in a little bit. But honestly, if you're watching this team on the ice, like, forget about the empty netters. The score was the same in that first period, and it was one of those we talked about earlier this season. Just survive that first period, get to the intermission, and they come back out and take them in the second period. Nobody took control in the second period. That second period was rough and a slog.
Yeah.
And that first period, it was concerning to me when you saw the puck chasing and then just like the passes not being there, either behind or ahead or just on the toe, on the heel, like not where the passes need to be. And then you see the frustration mounting, and then it's a complete reverse of what we were talking about yesterday with driving in deep and making those really good passes. As soon as they were touching the puck, they're rifling those shots, just hoping something would go in. And then once you saw that, you could visually see the confidence leaving the Avalanche. They were just trying to survive in a game that honestly they had no business trying to survive. They should have been the better team, but score doesn't reflect that.
No. As far as individual players go, I thought Sam Malinsky again had a really good game defensively, and he's for your third pairing, him and Calvin DeHaan, they're getting pretty decent minutes. He had just shy of 14 minutes on the ice. DeHaan had over 16 minutes. But Malinsky had an assist. He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
On both ends of the ice. He's a very good defender, and offensively, he's got some nice offensive skill. You see him kind of make some Cale Makar style moves. So I thought he had a really good game. Who else? You had the Nathan McKinnon goal, which was just his typical goal. It was on the power play too. When he gets that look of just get out of my way. Enough with these designed plays. Here's the design play. Give me the puck and I'll take over. And when he does that and he just gets that edge and gets around that corner, there's nothing you can do. And that was a very Nathan McKinnon-esque goal. Beautiful to watch those things.
Yeah, it was a no doubter. You could see it in his eyes. You could see it in his body language. As soon as he touched that puck, you knew what the outcome was going to be. You were just sitting back to see how it was going to happen. But he's done that a couple times so far this season where he gets the puck and he's mad and he decides, I'm tired of the frustration. I'm going to fix this. You'd like to see in situations like this, it occur maybe 1 or 2 more times. But this is what you want. That's Nathan McKinnon for you. And what a start to the year for him.
Casey Middlestat gets a goal, so he continues his really good start to the season. Kovalenko, nothing to show for it on the score sheet, but again, I thought he played another good game and had some opportunities to put some in the net. So I continue to like how he's playing. We'll get to Ross Colton in a little bit later, but there was, who else was on here? Anybody else that stood out for you for this game other than those guys? Or it's kind of just like one of those ho-hum games, but go ahead.
Well, it's another addition. I mentioned him yesterday, and still, Miles Wood has been so impressive to me that it's to the point now where I want somebody to take Miles Wood to the side and teach him one more thing. Like, refine one more thing. Like you're shoot the puck or be a body like in the crease. Just give me one more thing. Your positioning is great. Your speed is incredible. You're useful on like penalty kill. you're doing everything right in ways that we did not see last year. And I want to see him like add a scoring touch to this. Um, just one more thing, and he would be up to that Ross Colton level easily. Like he looks very, very good, but has nothing to show for it. And he just needs one more little step to really cement an additional force that the Avalanche could honestly use in this game right now.
How about that one thing being not running into the goalie?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really fault. I'm kind of saying that like tongue in cheek because he was working hard. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to do what Nathan McKinnon does and get that angle, and that's the difference between them two. McKinnon can take that edge, and you know he knows he's in control of himself a lot more than Miles Wood, because Miles Wood is just the bull in the china shop. And you know I can't fault him too much on it because he's working hard to get in front of the net and try to pound in a goal, and he just runs over their goalie, and at the most inopportune time. There's almost exactly 4 minutes left when that happened, so there's 2 minutes coming off the clock. Either way, it's bad. 2 minutes come off the clock, or you give up a goal, and now you're even further behind. But they killed the penalty, and that's still enough time to get that goal back. But I'm with you. Like I feel like he's playing his style. He's not going to change, and that's good for him. That's what the Avalanche wanted in him. But the thing I talked about, like the two empty netters that Chicago got. Well, let's get our first breaks in here. I just got a question about the Avs and end of games when they're down. Let's take our first break, and I'll ask that of you on the other end of it. Let's hear from FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get that hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today, and you get started with that $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Of course, that is America's #1 sportsbook. Also, Game Time and the Game Time ticketing app. It has a brand new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. What else do we love about the Game Time app besides the Game Time Picks? The all-in pricing. When you toggle on that feature, it shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And you get the seat views, the panoramic views from your seat right in the app, the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Kyle?
It's game time.
Yes, sir. Got a question to ask you. Is it just me? Is it just because this just happened? But and I know, getting goals when you pull your goalie is difficult, but it doesn't just seem like the Avalanche just can never do that.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in thinking that? And I probably am. Yeah, they probably are at the league average of when they pull their goalie, they get a goal, which the league average is probably very low when that happens. And they're probably right in the thick of that. And maybe this is me just feeling this way because you just gave up 2 empty netters. But I just feel like the Avalanche struggle more than most teams in you pull your goalie and you give up, the empty netter.
Well, you're not wrong, because honestly, when the Avs are in that position where they have to pull the goalie to try and have the advantage, it's because the Avs are playing that Jekyll Hyde that we have seen so far this year. The Avs are 5-5, and you're seeing 5 good games out of the Avs and 5 really bad puck chasing, out of position efforts and lackadaisical drive. And what makes you think they're going to change that up to ramp up the pressure in that situation? Like on games that they win, it's a no
Mhm.
doubter. Like it's a good effort top to bottom.
Right.
But when they lose, they are really good at losing.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
why would they ramp it up with 2 minutes to go?
Well, and then the first empty netter, the puck goes into Chicago's zone. 3 Avalanche are in the corner with 1 Chicago player.
Exactly.
And he somehow, some way finds the one other Chicago guy who's only on that side of the ice with him, and he gets an empty net goal. And when I saw that, and I saw 3 Avalanche players go over there, I'm like, all right, well, they'll collect this puck and get it, and it scoots out right. I don't remember who scored that first one, but I'm like, that is the Avalanche way when it comes to pulling goalies. They always give up. They'll give up one quickly, or they'll give up one like that, where it's just like, how are you giving that up? You had 3 on 1, and they still got an empty netter. So it's kind of frustrating. So like when they pull a goalie, I usually do not get like this wave of excitement, like we're tying this thing up. And I know, again, I go back to, I know that's probably the case for most teams, that most of the time it's very difficult to get that goal. But that's just how I'm feeling lately with the Avalanche when it comes to you're down, 2 minutes ago, you pull the goalie. It's tough.
No, when you're colliding with your own players and blocking your own shots and overplaying defensively in the first and second period, it's not going to get any better in the third period. And like you said, in the third, when they pull the goalie, that's usually when I start setting up for the pod because I know it's over.
So let's get to Alexander Georgiev, because that was the talk heading into this game. And he's been sitting for a little while. So you knew heading into a back-to-back, he was probably going to get one of these starts. He gets the one against Chicago, obviously. He gives up 3 in the first. And I know so many people are sitting there watching it and just looking at that and feeling like this dude just doesn't have it. And then he settles in. And he didn't give up anything the rest of the game. And if you want to break down those 3 goals that he had given up, really one of them just flat out beat him. And the other 2 were kind of ping pong pucks, which are very difficult for any goalie to stop. And trust me, I am not making excuses for Alexander Georgiev. He's been rough as this season, or the beginning of the season. You've seen improvement as the season has gone on, and I think this game is more of that improvement, if you ask me. I really don't put this loss on him. I don't. I think this I will take this type of game from Alexander Georgiev. Absolutely, I will.
All right, my friend. This is where I'm going to have to disagree. Well, I agree and disagree all at once. This was not all on Georgiev. No.
Mhm.
But this performance that you would take, that's an 875 save percentage.
No, I get. Hey, 875 is a lot closer to that wonderful 900 number that we all love right now. Even though scoring is way up in the league, we all still cling to this 900% goal save percentage, which I understand. And if you just flip one of those two, that you flip one goal for one more save, he's over 900. So that we're splitting hairs here, but I understand what you're saying.
But I think we're at the point, and I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. I don't think Georgiev is a NHL caliber starter anymore. With your numbers that you're getting, his body language, that beat, you've seen it 100 million times already this year. The 2, they're not on him. But again, the one thing that we were previewing when we were coming into the Chicago game is how this team plays in front of him. When have I seen the Avalanche play like this before? Oh, that's right. When Georgie's in net. It's night and day. And the team doesn't trust him. He doesn't trust himself. He just does not look like this looks like you're rolling Calvin Pickard back out there, or this looks like a backup making a starter And maybe this is something the Rangers knew all along. Maybe this is why he never got his starting job, because he just does not look like an NHL starter to me. I understand all. Please give me this is your life story on Georgie and what he gave you last year, and let's talk about Winnipeg and all that. But he just does not look like it this year, and that's what matters.
I mean, I think in the beginning of the season, you could definitely say that. It was ugly. I didn't. I think because you give up 3 goals and they all happen in the first, people are immediately going to go right there. But I got to take, like I said earlier in the year, I want to be cognizant of taking each game for the present and what it is right now. And if Annunen played that game and gave up those 3 goals in the same exact fashion, we would be, hey, he's still our guy. He's playing great. He's doing, you can't put those goals on him. We would really be singing his praises. But because it's Georgiev, there's going to be that faction of people who are like, he still can't get over 900 save percent. He gives up 3 in the first. So the talking points are completely different for 2 different players, because one we're kind of losing hope on, while the other we are gaining hope and he's our future, right? So I get rid of the number and the name on the back of the jersey, and the discussion is so much different. At least when it comes to this game, we're talking about this game in particular, because I don't think he was bad. I think he was good. I thought he looked. You are right about this team plays different when Justus Annunen is in net. There is just there's a quiet confidence about Justus Annunen, and he just plays the position just a lot more calm, cool, and collected, where Georgiev just seems like on edge all the time. And I think that projects to the rest of the team. I don't know. It's just how I'm looking at it, from my vantage point. But I again, going back just to this game, I thought he did seem a little bit more of the calmer Georgiev and really kind of focusing in. Now, it wasn't, there's still, like, when he makes a save, it's sometimes an adventure. Sometimes it's an adventure. And you still got that a couple times, but he made some big saves when he kept him in the game. That's what you need from when you're down. You can't remember I said the other day about Annunen in that third period. If that was Georgiev who did that, giving up 4 goals in 10 minutes, we'd be done. Put him on the waivers. Trade him. Go trade him for a 7th round pick. But he did what I wanted Annunen to do in the first game of this back-to-back against Ottawa, in stopping the bleeding of these goals. He did that last night for Georgiev. Gave up the 3, and then that was it. Kept your team in the game. That's what you need to ask of your goalie, and I thought he did it for this game.
I again disagree. This is not what you want. Okay, I'm Billy Bob Von Doom, and I want to check in on Locked On Avalanche to hear this potential playoff team with high caliber talent talk about their goalie. You can't spend a segment and a half talking about this goal could have been, should have been, would have been on your goalie. When Justus is in net, you don't do this. When other teams are having games, they don't sit there and break down individual goals that went in on their goalie. That's probably the last part they talk about before they close out the show. You can't sit here and say this is our 1A goalie or potential 1A goalie and go out there and play like this consistently. He's been pulled twice, and he has an abysmal goals against average.
Again, I'm going to right now, though. I want to focus on, you know what I mean? And here's the other part of it is, the Avs went and got 5 goals for Justus against Ottawa. They only mustered up 2 for Georgiev. The game before that against Utah, they got 5. Game before that against Kraken, 3. Game before that against the Sharks, they got 4. Game before that against the Ducks, they got 4. So in that 5-game winning streak, they got 4, 4, 3, 5, and 5. And then for Georgiev, they gave him 2. So put some fault on the team as well. And I know, again, going back to the back-to-back, but still.
But you're putting your team down immediately. 1 goal in 5 shots. Like, as a team, how do you build momentum already being down? And then looking at the track record and being pulled twice, this sinks into the team where it's here we go again.
Mhm.
And on the second leg of a back-to-back, you're just like, let's just get through this because you know how it's going to be. Because I don't see how it improves. It hasn't, and it's only gotten worse.
I don't agree with that, man. Like, I don't see how you can feel like how he started the season is similar to how this game went.
Well,
It is night and day.
what do we keep rolling him out for? What do we expect him to be, Patrick Waugh? What's he going to do? Wake up one day and say, "Today is the day that I'm not going to let this team. I'm not going to see 7 shots and let in 2."
I mean, he gave up 3 goals. He gave up 3 goals and then didn't let up any more, and his team couldn't get any more than that. They didn't get any more than 2. I mean, they didn't help him out either. So this game, I can't really feel like this was him at fault. Like, you know, he gave up 3 in the first, and we're sitting here saying, you know, that 2 of them were redirected multiple times, and you can't really fault him for that. And 1 beat him solid.
You can't constantly give
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Come on, let's.
You're
Come on.
you're trying to make an ideal situation for your goalie for it to work, and you can't operate with that kind of confidence. Like, if we didn't do this, then maybe Georgiev would have gave us close to a respectful. No, like, you have to have a goalie go out there and play goalie. You can't have the team play half goalie and half team.
I think it's just it's 2 different worlds that people want to live in when Georgiev's in net, and some of it is absolutely warranted. Absolutely. But how he performed at the beginning of the season, people are still holding that against him right now. Still doing that. And is that unfair? Maybe, maybe not. But I will go back to what I said I was going to do all season long and look at this individual game. I thought he was fine, but I will agree with you in that he cannot be the guy. You cannot throw him out there 60 games a year. I don't think the Avalanche are going to do that this year, especially with how Annunen is playing. Divide this up a little bit more, and if they can continue to play in tandem like this, I think that's what your goalie situation is going to be this year. We'll see what happens with Kakkonen. They're probably going to bring him up this week, give him a look. It might be a short stint for him with the Avs, unless he just performs out of his mind, which I don't really know if anybody's really expecting that. But the other thing that the Avalanche have to think about is that cap number for Georgiev. If they get comparable performance out of Kakkonen, who's a lot less than Georgiev, maybe that's what forces their hand in making a move there. But it's going to be a fascinating thing all season long for the Avalanche in net. So, all right, let's get a last break in here when we come back. Just some real quick Ross Colton news. Really no update yet, but we'll get to that. And then our sound check. We'll do that after this. All right, Prize Picks. Gotta love Prize Picks. It's the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks now offers Venmo, Kyle. How about that? I know for quick. I don't know if you're muted or not. You might be muted. You might have to fix that. But they offer Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account for all these sports seasons, and they discount select players' projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Those are fun. Sometimes just to get your streak going that we talk about, they'll throw up. It'll say like Bo. I always use Bo Nix for like 25 yards. He'll throw 25 yards. So like that's just a dummy bet just to get that streak going that we talk about. Is your streak still going, sir? Or no?
Oh no. Not at all.
You're back down to 0. But that's the fun of it. You start a brand new one right away. So download the app and use the code Locked On NHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is Locked On NHL is the promo code, and you get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup over on the Prize Picks app. Run your game. All right. Ross Colton just seems to be getting beaten up these back-to-backs. Ross Colton does not like back-to-backs. No, he didn't get hurt in the last one, right? No, that was the game before that he got the hand injury, but he came back for the first game of the back-to-back. And then the second game in this one, he took a puck and you could see it, took a hard hit shot right on the instep of his foot. And did come back, I think, for a shift, and then you didn't see him the rest of the game. So we'll have to see what that is. Maybe it was just that day and you just can't go for the rest of that game, and you get some treatment, heal up a little bit, and you should be good to go, because it's no secret he's been exceptional for the Avs this year. So if it is something bad, hopefully he didn't break something, but well, this is a wait and see thing. And I think, it's crazy how we're thinking Ross Colton. You got a lump in your throat right now if he's going to be out for a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those that we're going to be watching the news all day long for any kind of updates. I feel like this is going to go up to game time of the Tampa Bay game.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's go over to subtext. Got a couple comments over there. Then we'll get to our sound check. Cody, I was hoping for Georgiev bounce back game, but that did not seem to happen. What are we talking about here, people?
Nope.
Oh my God.
I agree.
I understand everyone else is a bit worn down from yesterday, but he didn't play the game or the three before it. And that break he had didn't do much. He hasn't gotten worse, but he hasn't gotten better either. At this point, it's becoming hard not to want Annunen as a starter. That I will agree with. I will agree with the Annunen. He's the hot hand right now, so you ride that. But this was not a bad game by Georgiev. It was not, people. I'll give him credit as he locked down in the second and third periods. Well, thank you for that, Cody. At least you gave him some credit for something. It's so difficult for Avalanche fans to give credit for anything right now. I'm in that camp sometimes. But for this one, he kept it where he kept the score where it was. You don't agree?
Nope.
Adam, they were worn out and desperately needed Georgiev to be the fresh legs to pull them through. He got better after first, but it was too little too late, which is his sound check. JoJo, too little too late.
Yep. I'm down with
that. Chad says they just looked tired and didn't have the legs to keep up with the Hawks. Georgie did let in a couple of soft ones, which like I expected, but he kept it in place where they should have outscored those first three goals if they had some fresh legs. Soundtrack exhausted by the Foo Fighters because they looked like it, and I'm exhausted by Georgie's goaltending.
Yep.
I cannot wait to hear Jared Bednar's post-game press conference because I really want to hear his comments on it, and I really feel like I got to get back up from the head coach rather than you people. You guys are killing me tonight.
I mean, I agree.
It's ridiculous.
Like, you expect he had all that time off. You expected it to be reversed. Like, if he was going to start letting him in, like, he should be the freshest of all the Avalanche out there. And
I'm not backing him up saying like, hey, he proved he's our number one guy. No, I am fully on board with Annunen being that guy. But okay, let me ask you this question, Kyle. If you get that from your backup goalie, are you happy?
I'm not feeling great.
From a backup goalie?
This is
3 goals from a backup goalie and he shuts it down in the second and the third?
If you watch the Frozen Frenzy games, like if you're looking around at the crop of NHL goalies right now, and then you go watch this performance from Georgiev, you don't feel great. I don't care if he's 1A or 1B or just coming out from Loveland. Like, he does not have what you need as a starting goalie in the NHL.
That's not what I'm asking you. He's not. I would kind of agree with that. That he's not a starting goalie right now. What I'm asking you is if you got that performance from your set and if you knew that was your backup goalie's performance, how would you not take that performance?
I would still say he's not good
and lock it down.
It's not good because the team doesn't believe it. You could just see it. They do not believe in him.
We could go on forever with this. Joe said they played the world's okayest weeknight hockey. Say that 10 times fast. As for the sound check, got to go with Chicago Legends Alkaline Trio. Mercy Me is what he said. So And Lisa says back to back, and it showed. Poor start, no puck luck, and ability to convert on the chances the Hawks gave to them, and Colton potentially injured. Just not the Avs night. Well, I think it would be unfair to blame this loss on Georgiev. A good goalie makes some saves early in the game to pick up a struggling team in front of him. Need to put this game behind them and look ahead on Wednesday. I'll agree with the part of like, hey, even though like the 2 goals that that he let in were like redirected, I'll still go back to you want your goalie still to make those saves.
Yep,
they're difficult saves to make, but you want a goalie to have the reflex to kind of adjust and make those saves. Let me see what we had here I just want to look at his. So he had 3 high danger shots against for him, and 2 of them went in. Those are the most difficult ones to save.
and you want to talk about firing up a tired team? Go make one of those saves and get that momentum going. Get Ball Arena going crazy. Make one of those saves where you're like, yes, let's go. Yeah. And then they rally around you. That's what changes the course of a game. Letting those in, you get the head thrown back. You get the huge exhale, line up for the face-off, and let's see if we could do it again.
All right. So let's get to our sound check here. We'll wrap this thing up. So Kyle and I always pick one song each that we feel best describes the most recent game. And these songs go up on a playlist over on Spotify, which you can follow along with. Just search for LOA Soundcheck. Volume number 4, this one is. So what do you got for this?
One of my favorite bands, weird, obscure band. The second period, especially, just the effort entirely from the band Primus.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
My name is Mud.
As they were stuck in that? Is that
everybody was stuck in the mud. That second period was just like a mud wrestling match. It was just a slog, a grind. Nobody was feeling it.
Yeah.
My name is Mud.
Yeah. That's a good one. I'll take that one. I like that. For me, I told you before we started, I think I've picked this one before, if not whatever. But it's from the classic, and maybe not the best way of being a classic, but it's a classic album, and the Guns N' Roses Chinese Democracy album.
Oh
boy. Usually the little tongue in cheek there, but if you know the history of that album. But there's a song on there called Better. That's what I feel like this was, especially for Alexander Georgiev. It was better. And that's kind of where they're going with it. So simple. I thought he was better. And again, Kyle's just shaking his head. If you're not watching on YouTube, he's disgusted with me right now.
I just
he doesn't even know me anymore.
It's one of those, like, what do you expect? It's because you're going to run out of runway if you keep rolling them out saying, all right, now give me some saves. And it's just the same. Well, if you would have had this or this one was okay. Or this goal was, and then you do that game 2, game 3, game 4. You're going to start eating. This was the first 10-game stretch of the season.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep making these excuses 10 games at a time.
Saying, what you just said is something key. Because you said you put him out there, and what do you expect? What did you expect tonight?
It's the same thing you've got all season long.
You expected worse. You expected worse than giving up 3 goals.
If they would have pulled him at the end of the first, that would that's still 1 goal on 5 shots, and then 2 goals. It's still the same. It's still the same. Yes, he locked down for the rest.
Yes, but you're breaking it down into one period over the course of the game. If we went into this game, if I brought it up yesterday and said, if Georgiev gives up 3 goals in this game, would you be happy? What would you say? Don't lie.
If I say he gave up 3, that's on par. That's literally, he has given up no less than 3 all year.
Not when his nickname is Forgiev by the whole Avalanche brethren.
He has not given up less than 3 goals all year.
We're gonna leave it there, and we'll probably carry it. This is gonna be a morning leftovers if I've ever seen one. Yeah. So we'll talk about this more tomorrow. So all right. Thank you for tuning in and making this one your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. So he is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. You made it through more than another 24 hours. Sidney Crosby is one day closer to becoming a Colorado Avalanche.
What's Tristan Jarry doing?